Hello everyone, this is Amritpal Singh. Welcome to the next video. In this video, we're going to talk about the Spark session versus Spark context. So let's get started. First of all, what is Spark context? The Spark context is an entry point to the Spark's core features. It means it's like a gateway to the Apache Spark functionality. If you want to make use of any of the functionality of Apache Spark, you have to first initialize, or we have to make use of Spark context, right? It connects your program to the Spark cluster and coordinates operations. So that's why I've said it's like a gateway to your Apache Spark functionality. It will help us in connecting your program to the Spark cluster. So it's like a bridge between your program and the Spark cluster. So think of Spark context as a manager who talks to the Spark engine. It's like a middleman or broker, okay, which act like which is intermediate between the your Spark engine, okay, and your program. It's responsible for managing all the administrative jobs like managing jobs, managing resources, and task execution. So now why we use Spark context? The Spark context we use for, first of all, for the low level operations, provide access to the low level operations and configurations. RDD manipulation. RDD stands for Resilient Distributed Data Set. It's a basic data structure or basic data abstraction of Apache Spark. It's essential for working directly with the resilient distributed data sets. Okay, we're gonna, in next video I'll be talking about more of RDD and how we can create it and what are different operations available. For a time being, just remember RDD is just a basic data structure of Apache Spark, or it's a basic data abstraction on which Spark works. Okay, so we use Spark context first when we have to do some low level operations, and second when we have to deal with the RDDs. So let's see one example. I've already have typed a little code in my PySpark. Let me first show you what this example is all about. Okay, I'm just going to my shell. You can see here I've already have opened up my PySpark. I've already have discussed in my previous video that how we can start or how we can configure the PySpark. We have multiple ways available, but I have chosen to open up this PySpark in my PowerShell. And you can see when I opening up the PySpark, by default the Spark context initialized, okay, as SC, right? So please remember, whenever you opening up the PySpark or simple Spark shell, okay, the Spark context, which is the entry point to the Apache Spark, automatically initialized. We don't have to do it manually. All right. And you can see the Spark session is also available as a Spark keyword. So I just written a couple of lines of code here. I've just tried to create a RDD. Although I've stated that I'll be discussing the RDD next video, but for a time being, because I have to just show you the difference between Spark context and Spark session, I'm just showing you the Spark context in action. Here I'm using a Spark context as SC abbreviated name dot parallelize. It's a method we use to parallelize the just to create the RDD, in which we are passing a list of numbers and we're gonna just print the numbers, okay, with the collect method. So this is how we can make use of Spark context. So we are using Spark context here in this example as the keyword SC, okay, and is already written when you opening up the PySpark. It's already available as SC, right? So I'm just using this SC, and on top of it I'm using a parallelize method, and I'm just passing the list of numbers and I'm just printing it. Okay, this is how we can make use of the Spark context, because I've stated that Spark context we use for low level operations or when we have to deal with the RDD. So here we are creating a RDD here, right? So coming back to the presentation, moving further, next is Spark session. So Spark session is a near unified entry point to the Apache Spark functionality. Okay, so the thing is Spark context is older, right? The Spark session is newer. It's a newer unified. What's the meaning of unified? Meaning is it has combined all the context together. So what are different contexts we are having? SQL context for working with the structured data. Then we have the Spark context that I've already discussed. Then we have the Hive context when we have to deal with Hive queries. Then we have a streaming context. Okay, so when we the combination of all four contexts give us the Spark session. So the Spark session is a near unified entry point to work with both Spark core and Spark SQL data frames. So Spark session is a modern gateway to Spark. Okay, it's also a gateway. It's an entry point to the Spark functionality, but as a unified. So it wraps all the things into one: the Spark context, the SQL context, the Hive context, and one thing is not mentioned here, it's the streaming context. You can see it here. So you can see all the context has been combined together to give us the Spark session. So the Spark session is a near gateway to the Apache Spark functionality. Let's see example again in the same PowerShell. I've already have written the piece of code. So in this case, you can see I'm importing a Spark session, and I'm trying to make first initialize the Spark session, and I'm just printing the Spark version. So Spark keyword here, this Spark keyword, it's nothing but a Spark session in which we are specifying application name, master, who's my master, localhost. Okay, in case the Spark session is available, get it, or otherwise create it. Okay, so in this case, the reason why I'm just showing this demo here, so that you should come to know that how we can make use of Spark session. So in this case, you can see I'm first importing it, then afterwards I'm just creating it, and then I'm just printing the version with the help of Spark. Although I've stated that we don't have to manually initialize that, but just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just showing you. So that's the reason I first stopped the existing context, because we can't have two sessions at one time working. That's the reason I'm using the stop command first, followed by I'm just creating it manually, and here I'm just printing the Spark version. So this is the little demo of the Spark session. I hope you must have understood from this short little video that what is the Spark session and what is the Spark context. All right. So now, before we end up the video, there's a last one more point I want to discuss. The now difference. The difference can be defined with this table. Let me present it, and then it will be done. So in this case, I've just mixed little difference here, the table. The feature, the first is it was introduced in Spark 2.0 because the newer one. The Spark context in the older one. It supports, yes, the Spark session supports data frames, but Spark context only we use it for RDD, so it is no. It's the entry point to all the Spark features. It can be the streaming functionality, the Hive functionality, the other one, the data frame functionality, but it's only for the core Spark, which is the RDD. So can I use SQL with Spark session? Answer is yes, but we can't make use of SQL with the regular Spark context, right? I hope you must have understood from all the points which I wanted to discuss what is Spark context, what is Spark session, and how they are different, and how we can compare both the things together, right? Thanks for watching, guys. See you next video.